What's up, guys? We are taking a run. Unfortunately, we're getting like gale force winds going on here. Ran into this bloke. I guess that's what they say in England or something. What's your name? Tell them about you.
Hey, I'm Levi from the UK, living here in Japan now, and it's very cool today.
I don't know what he said either. They say it's English. I think we have the correct version of English. I don't know what's going on, but anyways, yeah, Levi came to visit us, and then Tokyo, and then Tokyo got locked down. So now he's just stuck living with us. So we got to deal with whatever he's saying all the time now. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Trey getting in touch with you. We had a comment on our video yesterday from a guy named How Do You Jump? And I wanted to reply to him in video format because there's kind of a few different things I think he's asking. And this probably would be helpful for many different people. How Do You Jump asked, "Your videos are really informative, but I have a hard time relating because I'm a focused type of person. Can someone who is more of a tinkerer rather than a serial entrepreneur slash business type person start a business? Should they start a business?" Well, how do you jump, sir? I think you should start a business. I think there are various different types of people. One of the things to really think about is, are you like a technician type person? Are you like a leader type person? One of the things I think all of us need to figure out in our lifetime is, to what degree do we find satisfaction and worth and joy doing different types of tasks? Another thing to think about is that there are a lot of technical type people, technician type people who are entrepreneurs. Think about like plumbers, think about graphic designers or things like that. These types of people can have their own business where people get in touch with them and say, hey, do this job for me, and then they do it for them and send them back. Starting a business doesn't necessarily mean you're like a Bill Gates or like a Mark Zuckerberg, like overseeing an entire company and managers and managers and managers and then peons way down the line. I think that kind of mindset can get us into some traps. There are a lot of people who are just big picture type people who can understand kind of structures and systems and things like that. That being said, I think there are a lot of skills that you need to be willing to learn, even if you are kind of like a technician, technical type person. I know some people who just cannot be bothered by numbers. They can't be bothered to call up like a tax guy and be like, what is the optimal way of doing this so that I pay the least amount of tax? They're just like, it's too annoying, it's too much to deal with, forget it, kind of thing. And I think if you're quick to dismiss those kinds of helpers, then it's probably not for you. I think you need to be willing to outsource certain types of tasks. You need to be willing to admit that you can't do them or you don't want to do them. And then you also need to be willing to take the steps of finding the right types of people, whether it's like lawyers or programmers or designers or like marketing people or things like that. You will also need a certain degree of mental flexibility to be able to try and learn or at least understand the basics of new things, new concepts, new tasks, new ideas. I've worked with programmers in the past, like before I even had any basic understanding of how programming or development works. And I had a guy, this was probably like 10 years ago, I had a guy in India and I was like, hey, this is the kind of project I want to make. And I just gave him kind of some basic outlines. And then he came back to me like hundreds of dollars later and a few weeks later. And he was like, this is exactly what you asked for. Bye. I'll take my money and leave now, kind of thing. And then I looked at it and I'm like, dude, this doesn't even work or function in any way. And basically it was my fault because I failed to understand that you need to do this before you do this. And you need to do this before you do this. And kind of having a basic understanding of that. And there are all kinds of resources on the internet that you can find to get a basic understanding of those things. I'm not a programmer, but I work with programmers every day now. And that's, I think, what I'm talking about when I'm saying you need to have a little bit of mental flexibility to learn some basics. I think on the business side of things, you also need to be willing to do a little bit of basic math and you also need to be willing to make the effort to understand how cash and income and debts and assets and liabilities and how the money flows between like the balance sheet and the income statement. There are lots of resources on that too. I recommend Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read it when I was like in high school and like gobbled it up. Check that out. I have a link down in the description too if you just want to get the ebook or whatever. Another thing to think about when considering should I start a new business is responsibility. You're going to need to take responsibility on everything that happens. One of the things I like about being an entrepreneur of various different companies is that I have input and I have the last say on various different things and decisions. But one of the difficulties of that is that you pretty much never have days off either. It was years and years before I was able to take like 2 weeks off in a row. Because there's just little things where it comes up like, hey boss, what should we do about this situation? Hey boss, how should we handle this customer? Or the shipping company messed up in this way, how should we handle it? And things like that, you know? And you can train your staff to just be like, just figure it out kind of thing. But that's not my personality, and the nature of the relationship I have with my staff is more like, kind of like a family, you know? So I want to show that I'm there for them and that they don't have to take the burden of all the responsibility on them. And that's the way I operate. But I think for you, considering should I start a business, am I the right type of person, responsibility is a big thing to think about. When it comes to weekends, some people just love clocking out at 5 or 6 p.m. on Friday, and they're just like, I got the whole weekend ahead of me. I can just chill and watch Netflix and you know, whatever, work out or relax or sleep in or whatever it is. And you might not ever be able to do that again if you're running a business where clients are going to be walking into your store or getting in touch with you or emailing you or calling you or things like that. Another thing to consider, however, is that it's getting easier and easier to be a basically internet-only entrepreneur. There was a report done in 2017 by the Global Wealth Report, and they mentioned that there are now 36 million millionaires in the world. This is in 2017, 3 years ago, which is a 170% jump from the total of the year 2000. So there are 170% more millionaires than 17 years earlier. And I think that's probably got a lot to do with the internet. I actually know a lot of people who basically never leave their house, just do everything on the internet and make loads of money. It's a strange thing to be able to just sit at home and you open this app and you're like, wow, $5,000 more today. Wow, $10,000 more today. It's weird, but it's a reality now. And I think that's something that's attractive and tantalizing for a lot of people. And that's something you can consider as well. Another thing to think about is that not all small businesses or side gigs or jobs are like you're running this huge organization. There are more and more side gigs, or there's more and more potential to do side gigs that make significant amounts of money without you having to even quit your main job, which is like paying your bills and paying your mortgage and buying you food and putting your kids through school and stuff like that. I think even if you're making a few $100 a month from a little side gig, when you multiply that out over months or years, that ends up being like thousands and thousands of dollars, which can buy your next car or, you know, be a down payment for a house or things like that. And I think one of the things that I've learned, and I share about this more in my video below, or I guess linked up here, is that you don't have to have the perfect idea to get started. And we started one of our companies just kind of a little side business, and then it grew and grew and grew, and now there's like multiple staff and it's a full-time thing and stuff like that. And so I think you don't need to stress too much about figuring out like the ultimate company. All right, sir, I hope that is helpful for you. I hope that sheds some light on whether or not you should start a business in 2020. Leave me your feedback below. Let me know if you have more questions, follow-up questions, or if you want me to share more about other kind of aspects of things I mentioned in this video. Also, for other people watching, please feel free to leave a comment. I love to do this kind of like feedback and kind of have communication going on between us. Please leave a like. Please hit that bell. Let me know maybe how this was helpful for you, or if you have any other questions. Looking forward to hearing back from you soon. Thank you very much. See you soon.